You are now listening to The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Corden on the One Podcast Network. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK in the world is The Box Out here on the One Podcast Network. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me in just a few minutes will be Jason Corden from Brooklyn, New York. A lot to get to, a lot to talk about tonight. Let's start our opening tip with the big news that came out this afternoon from the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs superstar. I'm going to call him superstar because he is a superstar. Victor Wembanyama, he is being shut down for the remainder of the season with a blood clot in his right shoulder. It was kind of shocking because whenever you hear of a player being shut down for the season, you're like, oh my God, how's the season going to go? Is it serious? And essentially, for a blood clot, you take blood thinning medicine, which keeps you out of action, keeps you out of any kind of full contact activities. So obviously practice is out of the question, games especially out of the question for Wemby. And I think they figured that by the time he returns to the lineup, their season's going to be over. I know they're kind of competing for that 10th spot in the play-in, but in all reality, the Spurs aren't going to do anything. Even if they get to the play-in tournament, I don't really foresee them kind of making any noise or really doing anything of any real substance. So I think shutting him down was the right choice. And in situations like this, you know, as a fan base, you kind of feel a certain way about it because you're almost like the team is going, you know what? Season's over. Who cares? Let's just move it on. And I think that's what a lot of Spurs fans might be feeling like, hey, even if we get Wemby back with, 2-3 weeks left in the season, that might be beneficial because we might be competing to get into the play-in tournament because they are kind of close. Like, I think it'll take a lot for them to get into the play-in tournament, but they are kind of close. So I think for Spurs fans, this might be a kind of a kick in the gut for them because it would seem like the team is kind of giving up and saying this season means nothing anyway. And they were having a pretty good season from last year to this year. Wemby's numbers went up. If you remember the Christmas Day game at the Garden, where I think that was the game where everyone saw, like, okay, this is what he could be. This is who Victor Wembanyama could be against the Knicks on Christmas Day. San Antonio lost that game. Go Knicks. But you definitely saw, like, okay, this is definitely that guy. So it is a tough thing to kind of swallow for fans. Reigning Rookie of the Year, first time All-Star this season, DQ'd during All-Star Weekend. We'll get to that a little bit later when me and Jason talk about the NBA All-Star Weekend festivities and how Wemby and Chris Paul was disqualified for trying to take a shortcut during the skills competition, which is ridiculous, but that's beside the point. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and almost 4 blocks a game for the Spurs. So that's what they're losing with this. Listen, let's look at the situation like Joel Embiid, for example, right? Joel Embiid's first year in the NBA was a wash because he was out for the whole season. He came back, second season, played well, but they definitely rested him a lot. And I don't want to say came back fine because he's probably going to be down again for the remainder of the season, Joel Embiid. But a blood clot, and I know we hear blood clot and bad things happen. Of course, a blood clot can turn into something worse. It is being treated. He's going to be fine for next season. I think the Spurs are like, hey, out of precaution, we're going to shut him down. We're not really competing for much. It's a wash. We'll see you in 25-26 season. All right, so I think that's going to be the big thing. Make sure he's healthy and ready to go for the following season, for next season, as opposed to forcing him to come out. Especially this season for the Spurs has been weird anyway. Greg Popovich went down. He had a stroke, so he's been out. No timetable on his return. If there will even be a return for Greg Popovich, he is up there in age. I know there have been conversations and about him retiring eventually. So the season for the Spurs itself has been kind of like this weird kind of like our coaching here. We have one of his assistants who we know very well, but Coach Pop ain't here. So it's been like that since the fall, pretty much since the start of the season. So it might be a good thing that he's like, you know what, let's just start all over next year and just see what happens and see how we can maybe salvage or start over. They do have Chris Paul. I'm not sure his contract status right now. I got to check that out. But it's going to be interesting to see the Spurs. And I think the Spurs are one of those teams where if you look ahead with Wemby, they have Keldon Johnson, they have a couple different pieces. Draft capital, I don't know what the draft capital situation is off the top of my head. I will have to kind of look that up as well. But it's going to be interesting to kind of see what the trajectory is of this team because Chris Paul went to this team to almost be a mentor to Wemby and to other young guys in the team. And this was the year they thought maybe we can sneak in and backdoor it into the playoffs, into the play-in, and see what happens. And obviously that's not going to happen. I'm going to put it out there. I don't foresee the Spurs making the play-in tournament. Just saying. But for next year, what moves do they make? Do they bring back Chris Paul, right? Do they bring another free agent? They're going to have some cap space to work with next year. So what pieces are going to put around Wemby to continue to make him better? Because this is his team. So it's going to be interesting to see, okay, it's your team. We're going to give you these pieces to kind of put around you and see what pieces they do and see if the pieces fit. And I think that's going to be the biggest puzzle piece of this whole situation is going to be what guys work well with Wemby. Right? We know Wemby's game. He's a good interior player, but he put up 403 threes this year. That's a lot of three-pointers. That's a lot of threes for a 7'4" center. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Spurs do and how they handle it. Shout out. What's up, Pop? Spurs been playing good ball. The assistant has always done a good job. They have won some big games. They always play hard. That is true. And I think this was one of those years where they said, okay, we may not make the playoffs, but let's see some improvement. And you definitely see an improvement, not just from the team, but from Wemby itself. And I think Chris Paul has a lot to do with it, although Chris Paul got him in trouble at All-Star Weekend. Just saying. Bruce, the host of Armchairing Wednesday nights here on the One Podcast Network. What's up, Bruce? What's going on? So that's the Wemby situation. He's out for the season. We will see what happens. This past weekend, we also had NBA All-Star Weekend. And has a guy who wants, not with his current wife, but with an ex-girlfriend, who wants, in hindsight, I'm thinking about it now, a lot of my wife and I's anniversary falls on All-Star Weekend now. And as an ex-girlfriend, our anniversary fell on All-Star Weekend. So you're talking to a guy that on an anniversary trip on an All-Star Weekend forced my ex-girlfriend to have dinner at 4:00 in the afternoon to make sure he's back in the hotel room by 7:00 to watch the start of All-Star Weekend, All-Star Saturday night. So you're talking to somebody who has put relationships on the line for All-Star Saturday night. And to tell you the amount of the lack of care I had for All-Star Saturday night coming into this weekend was tough for me. It was rough because Saturday night was always like Sunday was always cool. The All-Star game was cool. And it was competitive back in the day when I was growing up. But Saturday night, you had the slam dunk contest. You had three-point shooter. Three-point shooter was always been my thing. They had the skills competition, which is like, whatever. But three-point shootout, slam dunk contest, that's what I was ready for when I woke up Saturday morning for All-Star Saturday night. And the last few years, it's been subpar, right? And I'm not talking about the slam dunk contest, which we'll get to in a second. We all know the slam dunk contest is lacking. That's not like a surprise thing. The All-Star Saturday night slam dunk contest is lacking. It is a non-starter for people now. The three-point shootout is the three-point shootout. You want to see guys hit three-pointers? Great. The Sabrina Ionescu, Steph Curry thing last year, which they didn't do this year because they felt like they couldn't recreate the magic, quote unquote, from last year. I get that. But going into this weekend, I wanted to see how they would treat Saturday night. Because Sunday night, so the Sunday All-Star game was always going to be no one cares. All right. Saturday night was like, let's hype people up Saturday night. And maybe we can carry that over to Sunday, that hype, that excitement. Did they deliver on Saturday night? No, they did not. First problem. Let's do the good first. My boy Mac, 3-time slam dunk champion. His dunks were creative, really cool. And most of all, he made his dunks on the first try. The best part of a dunk contest is seeing a good dunker make the dunks the first time he tries it. Not on the second, not on the third, not on the fourth, not on the fifth. That's the important part. You want that. You want, hey, make it on the first time. Make it the first dunk. Let's see what happens. The second thing is be creative with the dunks. Don't BS the dunks. So let's start there first. So Mac was a good thing. Actually, I want to take a quick break. Jason's trying to get in. I want to get him in this conversation. So 30 seconds. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Don't move. I love technical issues. So Jason's coming in. I sent him the link to the show. Apparently he didn't get it. So he's coming in now to talk about the Slam Dunk Contest, All-Star Weekend, and the rest of the topic. So sorry about that. I wanted to get him in, make sure he's all in. Anyway, back to All-Star Weekend. Was the Slam Dunk Contest greatest of all time? Absolutely not. Was it cool to see someone for the third time in a row? Yes. Is the Slam Dunk Contest back? Has Kenny Smith repeatedly said as I bring in Jason Kortner? No, it is not. Jay, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. The contest is back. It's back.
Says Kenny Smith, who says it every year. He says it every single year. It's back. It's back. So what were your first? I want to go back to the original topic before he came out. Wemby's out for the season. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? Or
I think it's more of a blessing now. He gets time to heal up. It helps their draft capital. They're gonna get someone else's pick anyway. So now, I mean, I think it's better for them to go all in next season with Wemby rather than try to push for a final playoff spot in the West this season. Because I don't think they have enough to challenge the 10th spot in the West currently.
No, so right now they're a game and a half back of Golden State, who's in that 10 spot. So I said,
I think Golden State is about to ascend.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later because I want to talk about the trade deadline moves and who's kind of winning right now. But you're right, San Antonio's kind of stuck in neutral for now, and I think going into the season they were always going to be stuck in neutral. They weren't going to be like this surprise team and it's going to shock the world. But sit him down, just let him rest up. Mm-hmm. You know, he's playing well. And be ready to go, and have an idea of who's going to be your coach next year, because you don't know if Pop's coming back, you know if Pop's going to return, you know, come back brand new.
Sorry, I think Pop's coming back, but it all depends on how things look in the summer, how things shape up, turn draft and everything. I think he might come back though.
You think so?
I think he wants that one ring with Wemby. I think he wants to go out with Wemby as a champion.
I don't know if he can do that. That's just me. All-Star Weekend. I'm talking about Saturday night and how, I once forced an ex-girlfriend who we had our anniversary on All-Star Weekend, just like me and my wife, oddly enough, to go out to dinner at 4:00 and be back in a hotel room by 7:00. Like that's how
it used to be a thing.
It felt like this event that okay, Sundays, whatever, All-Star game, but Saturday night was like, all right, let's get it. What were your thoughts about the slam dunk contest? Let's start that first.
I thought I thought it's definitely time to shuffle it towards maybe before the 3-point contest or maybe the skill. I think if you rank it now, it's 3-point skills and then dunk contest. For me, that's how I would rank the 3 right now. And I feel like it's time to shuffle it up. But it's one of those things, and a friend told me it kind of made sense. You can't give them more than 10 seconds to do a dunk. I think them missing on the first 2 attempts, 3 attempts, 4 attempts, it's repetitive. We get over it. That's why I could kind of applaud what's his name, McLemore, one, because he did all his dunks first time, one try. So you could kind of applaud him for that. But other than that, I feel like players are scared to participate because of social media. 20 years ago, we didn't have social media. Now, they don't want to get clowned. They don't want to be a meme. So I think that's why we're seeing the John Morants and even the young tiers of superstars trying to come up. You tell me Zion can't play in one of these slam dunks? I think these guys are really intimidated by social media, and they're not going to participate going forward.
I mean, Zion can't play in a game, let alone a slam dunk contest. Let's get him in regular games first.
Can't even make it to a league roster. Like, is he really on the Magic? Is he really in the Magic? He's on the
Oskalala Magic. Was that Oscala? How you pronounce that in Florida? That city? I don't know. But yeah, I think the problem is, and I think we're saying the same thing over and over again every year about the slam dunk contest. You're not getting the big names. Pete, what's going on? Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. We're not getting the big names, and we're never going to get the big names. So we're stuck with this dude who won 4 times in a row, and then a bunch of randos. So I don't care how many times LeBron teases it. Zach LaVine tweeted out after, like, oh, maybe I'll do it. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Like, cut it out and just stop talking about it, because you're not going to be in a slam dunk contest ever. That is not your thing. Let's leave that. I want to go to the skills competition, because I've never in my life seen a team get tossed out of the equivalent of a punt, pass, kick competition.
The team I picked to win the challenge at that.
Because they found a loophole. And they're like, nah, you can't do that. And Chris Paul's probably like, but we shot the ball. but you didn't try to shoot the ball in the hoop. He's like, that's not part of the rules. I've never seen someone find a loophole. Listen, that's Chris Paul. Chris Paul, that's that meme. Like, okay, he figured it out. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley won. Do they need to spruce that up as well? Because I think the skills competition is starting to kind of run this course a little bit too.
I think so. They have to do something. You know what I really like? That I don't know if you saw the contest between that I guess the host of the Beastmaster or whatever the show, and that kid had won the 100,000. That was kind of cool. I kind of like that, even though I think Dame kind of pulled back towards the end. But I think something like they need to spice up the skill challenge instead of like half court threes or some. I mean, they got to come up with a little something better. But I did approve them finding that loophole and just tossing those balls out. That was great.
Well, it's like the Pat McAfee field goal kicking thing he does on College Game Day, and people win money. Same kind of situation, but that was cool. But I think they need to add. I think when they had the NBA player with the WNBA player doing it, that added kind of a cool dimension to it. Right. That they might have to bring that back, especially with the WNBA gaining popularity. I feel like this is the time to like, all right, let's get LA and let's get the Lakers and the Sparks. Let's get the Knicks and the Liberty. Let's get the Mercury and the Suns. Let's mix it up a little bit. just because it's cool to see it, but you're throwing the ball into a net, you're shooting a basket, you're dribbling around a cone. I'm like, I'm watching a high school drill, essentially. And I'm watching NBA players do it, and some of them do it badly. There's some really bad skills competition players I've seen over years. So,
but like I didn't make it to the league for do these skills challenges. I made it to the league because I could shoot.
Yeah, shoot and dunk, not do a perfect bounce pass into a garbage can. That's not what we're here for. The other thing was 3-point shootout. It's a 3-point shootout, so I don't know how exciting you can make a 3-point shootout. I know they have that one ball that's deep out and like towards the logo, and they have one rack of money balls. And can you make a 3-point shootout more exciting than what it really is? I think that's the question.
I don't think so. I think you get this is what you get, and I think it's more exciting like what Buddy Hield did in the first round. He shot 31. He got 31 points in the first round. You rarely see that in the first round, but then he was kind of gassed, and even then he still was 1 point short from tying. But there's nothing you really could do about that event unless you're going to have these guys go side to side at the same time.
Did they used to do that?
I feel like they did.
Yeah, they did. Because I remember it. They had that. Because I remember they'd be the split screen, and in NBA Live they did the same thing too. So I remember that now.
I would say that.
Yeah, I would make it. Hey, go 1-on-1, go, and put the pressure on them.
Yep.
Let's talk about the game now. I was listening to Bomani Jones's podcast, and I can't remember who he had on. It will come to me in a second. But they were talking about the All-Star game, and in the middle of talking about the All-Star game, the guy forgot the format, which he pointed out was like, see, but that's the problem. I can't remember what the format is. So if you can't explain what the format is, that's an issue, right? So the format was, you had 3 teams. You had Team Chuck, Team Kenny, Team Shaq. The fourth team will come from Friday night, and whoever won the Rising Stars game. So we had that team. They went on Friday. They advanced to Sunday. They played against the NBA team. Team Shaq won.
Team Shaq won, yeah.
Team Shaq won.
The OGs,
Steph Curry.
OGs,
yep. Steph Curry won the MVP. Two-pronged question. Did this format change do anything? And is it time to go to what everybody wants to see? World versus US.
It was a cute. I liked the format this year. It was cute.
It was cute. It was cute. Bless their heart. Bless their heart.
I appreciate, they put the Rising Stars in. Draymond went on his tirade, which was accurate. It was very accurate. The Rising Stars should have been playing on All-Star Day. But I enjoyed how the OGs took it very seriously because they didn't want to get embarrassed and lose to them. So that was actually the most competitive scrimmage we've seen in an All-Star game in some time. But I think the league, and I think they're afraid to go world versus US because the US might get embarrassed.
Oh, they would.
But that's why I think they don't want to do that. This ain't hockey. Because hockey we could do that. But this, I don't think they want to do that.
Here's the problem, right? And I'm a hockey fan. You see the Ranger thing behind me? It's right above the Knicks picture I got. When people on Saturday night, and obviously there was fights, so people were like, "Oh my God, the U.S. and Canada fought." When people are talking about U.S. versus Canada hockey in the United States of America, and not NBA All-Star Saturday night, not the slam dunk contest, not seeing the stars come out, and even Sunday going into the All-Star game, people were still talking about the hockey game and talking about the U.S. might get Canada again, which they have the Canada tonight in the final of the Four Nations, which is a bullshit ass tournament. But besides the point, it's in a hockey show.
It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun, but you said it. Between Nikola Jokic, Giannis, SGA, he's Canadian. He ain't American. He's Canadian. Wemby. you can kind of keep it pushing. You could get Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could put together this world team that can go head up, person for person, against the U.S. and beat the brakes off of them. And I kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see that. I want to see them get the brakes beat off. Because I feel like we still have this air of arrogance. And I think that's kind of why it's not happening either. Because I think Adam Silver knows deep down, we can't have this. This is our sport, right? This is American sport, right? Mm-hmm. We can't have the world team come and just put their foot on the U.S.'s neck. Because this is our game.
The Dominicans are never losing to the U.S. in baseball ever again.
I mean, we beat the Japanese in baseball. That's kind of their sport, too. Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah. Yep.
That's we're never beating Dominicans. Though. That's their thing. I'm like, nah, that's on you. That's good. So that was also a weekend. John loved the format. I gotta put the whole on that.
It was cute. You can say it, John. It was cute.
It was cute. You can't mess around. Yeah, it was a cute format.
My question to you now that ESPN gets it next year, are they going to tolerate all this nonsense we had this weekend?
No, not at all. Yes, the U.S. won the Olympics, and they almost lost the last two games. They should have lost in the semis.
It took Steph going nuclear those last two games.
Yeah, it literally took a Herculean effort from the U.S. to beat Serbia and France back to back.
Steph is probably going to be on the next Olympic team. I doubt LeBron and KD will be there.
So I want to look up the ratings. I saw something yesterday. Here we go. Viewership for last weekend's NBA All-Star game was near all-time lows. Just 4.7 million fans tuned in to TNT, TBS, and True TV. So it's on 3 channels. The numbers are 13% decrease from last year's All-Star game, which drew 5.3 million. So 5.3 ain't a good number to begin with. 4.7 is an even worse number.
You know what? It happens at the wrong time. It's right after the Super Bowl weekend. So that's when everyone's exhaling. Some celebrity. I was surprised Kevin Hart was there, considering SNL 50 was happening at the same time. And it seemed like a lot of celebrities were there at SNL than San Francisco for the All-Star week.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I watched live more of the SNL 50th special than the All-Star game. I watched the All-Star game. I watched the All-Star game the next day.
Oh, okay. I was dibbling dabbling between the channels.
That's where my interest level was on Sunday. I watched the All-Star game Monday morning getting ready for work. And just fast forwarded through a lot. Can we talk about my man Jello performing on Saturday night?
Well, before we get into Jello, shout out LeVar Ball. Heard about what happened, got his foot amputated.
I'm sorry, why am I laughing? Why am I laughing at that?
He's all right. As long as he's all right. He's
good. It's them shitty ass sneakers he's selling.
Damn.
The thing's so tight, the damn game gangrene probably.
But Jello done. I'm amazed that he's he's transitioned so well to being a rapper. I mean, we really went from Kendrick at the Super Bowl last week to Jello All-Star weekend. They couldn't call Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was at SNL 50. They couldn't call Wayne.
He transitioned so well to being a rapper. I watched that damn performance and I'm like, I feel like people were dapping him up out of pity. Like, all right, he over here. I guess I should dap him up because it was. First of all, the song was garbage, hot garbage.
It sounds like a Hot Boy Cash Money song from the early 2000s.
Oh my god! It was like, what am I watching? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, you can get nobody else. Like Sunday night, yeah, Rafael Sadiq, which works. I love Rafael Sadiq.
How did those guys did not get them to play? I don't know. That's weird.
You get Rafael Sadiq Sunday night, play one song and play the same song during introductions.
Yep.
You should give Rafael Sadiq that time and let him perform 4 songs. Instead, we get legit. First of all, he's introduced by his brother, which I'm like, okay, of course. And he comes out. I'm sitting there, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot because his basketball career, you're damn sure ain't going nowhere. And I'm listening, and I'm like, this is terrible.
Terrible.
This is bad. Like this, and like you look at the crowd, people just like, I'm like, wow. The Bay Area, are they hungry for hip hop out there? Is it like, I know they ain't Compton, but Old Town don't got nobody out there.
Mm.
I'm like, wow.
Oh, and like you said, it made no sense. No sense.
Wow. And just for that, the NBA deserves bad ratings. Just for that. They deserve to have been watching them. I'm all about that life. Leaving All-Star Weekend, moving on. Our trade deadline special was 2 weeks ago, and obviously they came back from All-Star break tonight, but we have to talk about who won the trade deadline up to this point. Who do you think has won the deadline? I think I know who you're going to say.
Well, I would have said the Lakers, but trades got rescinded and people's feelings are hurt. So I'm gonna go with the Cavs. I think the Cavs are positioning themselves to be legit. But
wait, I gotta go there. Trade rescinded. Failed the physical.
Yep.
And then the guy the Lakers wanted to get that got pushed back got dunked on last night by LeBron. I'm like, oh, that sucks. That's just a bad week. I'm sorry,
bad
man.
Week.
My bad. Bad
week.
So Cleveland,
I go with Cleveland because I think the addition of Hunter really gives them another wing defender. I thought that move was definitely for Boston. So we'll see what happens. I think Cleveland's definitely positioned to make a run to the finals.
I'm going to say Golden State. Jimmy Butler's coming. First of all, I didn't know kind of a backstory, but apparently Jimmy Butler and Tim Hardaway don't like each other. So, but Tim Hardaway's number's not retired by Golden State. So when Jimmy came into Golden State, he took Tim Hardaway's number. That's why he's number 10.
That seems like such a Jimmy logic.
That's some petty shit. That's some real petty shit.
Take it 34.
I'm like, wow. But
or
3-1 with Jimmy since he came on. Draymond's talking about championships during All-Star weekend. I think he's full of shit, but beside the point. They look good. I think Jimmy's playing like Jimmy. I think the Jimmy Butler we're seeing these first 4 games in Golden State is the Jimmy that we got used to seeing in Miami, playoff Jimmy, and when Jimmy's focused, this is Jimmy. I think this Jimmy with Steph, if Draymond stays in his best behavior, with Kuminga, you said it earlier. I think they're going to move out of that 10 spot, and they might make a run at that main 6. Because I think they're a really good team right now. I think they're really, really good right now.
I think they're good too. I think they're definitely going to make a run, and they're going to be a tough out. And I think that's what Draymond's thinking about matchups. And I think if you look at their style of play, especially now with Butler in the fold, you only got to worry about Denver. You probably only worry about Denver. I don't think you worry about the Lakers too much. Houston's there's always a team that ascends early. I think Houston's that team in the West. I think they will probably be one and done in the playoffs with the right matchup. So I think Draymond does have a point there. Dallas took a backseat without Luka, and now they're going to be without AD for a while. So things are starting. The dominoes are starting to fall in their favor a little bit.
So this is a valid point too. Kuminga offers versatility in scoring. It's funny because you get that with Jimmy too. So I feel like you have 2 wings that can give you that can play the 2 or the 3 that gives you that size, that plays defense, and that can drop 20 when you need them to. So the pressure's not on Steph to score 35 points a game.
Exactly.
Which I think was a problem before because it was either Steph or you hope that Andrew Wiggins was paying attention that night and that he's going to win. And
pretty
now
much.
you have two guys that can help Steph out more, and then Draymond can just go back to doing whatever the hell Draymond Green does on a nightly basis. I don't know,
Yep.
just mess with guys. We have to talk about Dallas because Dallas seems to be the loser. First game with Dallas, AD was a monster. And then he gets hurt and he's out for the next 3 weeks.
You mean the first 3 quarters of that game, he was a monster.
Yeah, first 3 quarters. How does Dallas and Dallas is missing a lot of guys right now. So now you add Likely's out. There's another guy, I can't remember his name. I'm blanking. What happens with Dallas now? Because it's Kyrie's team, which I thought I would never ever say again. Like, what happens to them now?
They got to keep their heads above water, but I think it's gonna be tough sledding for them because they are the 9th seed right now.
They are. I gotta go back. Yeah, they're 9.
So I think it's gonna be tough for them to get out of the play-in situation. Now it's just trying to stay level-headed where they're at, but I think they're destined for the play-in. Hopefully to get 80 back and they can make a run.
Yeah, Lively's out. Gafford's out too. So you have 3 big guys who's out right now. So you're gonna roll with PJ Washington playing a lot of 4, a lot of small 5. So I'm not sure how you can kind of keep that moving right now. Maybe the shooting gets better and the shooting can kind of cover up the fact that you don't have a lot of size. And they're saying Gafford might be back soon. They're saying Lively might be back in a couple weeks. AD's definitely out for at least 3 weeks. So I'm curious to see kind of how they kind of weather the storm and how they get through this.
Yep.
I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he mentioned how the Knicks didn't do anything and how we're just still kind of middle of the pack. And I think you said how you still like the fact that they didn't do anything. And
yeah, because I feel like they got to hold down the fort. If you was gonna do anything, it's probably gonna be moving Mitch. But if Mitch could come back and help out, so be it. But I think not making a move. Let the chemistry. Let's just let them build up and see what happens. Because God knows they would have made a move. Who are you gonna get rid of? It would have probably been Deuce and probably a starter. And you don't know what you're going to get for that.
Yeah, I said I'd rather not give up a starter and whatever draft capital we have left after the moves we've made for either a rental or a middling piece that we don't really need. And I think that was the issue. I think the Knicks saw the landscape and said, who we might want to really get, we would have to give up a whole lot to get them.
Yep.
Let's stay pat. Getting Mitch back, and I think the idea of that Mitch is going to come in and play 30 minutes a game and dominate. No.
Nah.
I think 15, 20 minutes, rebound, block shots is all you need it for. Because you can put Cat at the 4, Mitch at the 5, move Cat back to the 5, and then you kind of do what you need to do and move guys around. But all you need Mitch to do is come in and just do what he does best. And hopefully don't get hurt. That's the key to this too.
That's the key.
Don't get hurt.
But
Bruce, I was waiting for this one.
You said first and second. It's Boston, and Boston's a tough matchup. These next few games are going to tell us a lot about the Knicks or what they need to improve going forward.
Here's my question to you, though. And as a Knicks fan, I think we try to be very impartial on this show. We try to show our fandom too much.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work ever. We try to stay. We're journalists.
Mm-hmm.
How good are the Knicks right now to you?
I think they're exactly where they're supposed to be. The 3rd best team in the East. I think even with a depleted without OG and a limited Mitch, I think they're better than Indiana, Miami, Detroit. Mm-hmm. I think they're better than that tier teams. I think the roadblock will be the second round when they get Boston. I think the top 3 seeds are locked in the East. So it's about trying to figure out your defensive strategy. So when you see Boston in the second round, that's why.
Listen, and that's why you get a Mikal Bridges. That's why you re-sign an OG to try to almost neutralize Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and you have your bodies on them. And I think you're going to have to force Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. And
but this is where you need Mitch. This is where you need Mitch. You don't need Mitch now. You don't need him in March and April. You're going to need him come May when you're in the second round locked up against Porzingis, and then you could throw Mitch and Cat at him.
Mm-hmm. Or I mean, even listen, Precious Achua, undersized and all, can body up Porzingis if he needs to, and he's quick enough where he could step out. Like Precious Achua can step out.
You just said earlier, where do I see the Knicks? I think right now I just need them to work on the 3-point defense.
No, they're going under screens and leaving guys open and not doubling and not this like. There's these little things that they're doing that's not right. You go over, you go on top of the screen. You don't go under. You go under, and then they roll. No one's there to kind of catch that roll. And if you are there, you're going to be there along with the other defender, which leaves the other guy wide open. So I think I've been seeing that all year, and it seems like their help defense and their pick and roll defense is atrocious this year. It's been bad all season. And against Boston, against Cleveland with their shooters, you cannot let that happen. When Jared Allen and Evan Mobley's running that pick and roll with Spider Mitchell and Darius Garland and now DeAndre Hunter, you can't leave those guys wide open like that. You really have to just like tighten that up. Tibbs knew how to do that, and all of a sudden it's not a thing anymore.
Somebody else snapped some sense into Tibbs. And that's also why I think the Knicks didn't make a move, because there wasn't a player like a Hartenstein available during the trade deadline that would have helped them out. Except for Marcus Smart. I thought they should have went after Marcus Smart.
Well, I had a conversation because I saw that Isaiah Thomas was back in the G League and dropped like 40 points. I was like,
Wait a minute. What about TJ Warren? What about TJ Warren? They can't bring him up?
They can bring him up.
They might need to.
I almost feel like TJ Warren is still down there, has like a conditioning thing, because he's ready to come up. And I feel like the fact that he's versatile and can play the 3 and the 4, you need that, because you really don't have, you can't play Precious 48 minutes. You can't play Mikal Bridges 48 minutes. Right. At some point, you can't play Precious all the time. You need more bodies, and you need more experience.
Yep.
Right. That's the big thing. TJ Warren's played in a lot of playoff games, a lot of big games. And he can shoot. He can stretch the floor, which will also help them out too. Yeah. So why not bring him up? I don't understand. And to me, this seems like a conditioning thing. Like, get your mind right, and we'll give you a call in March.
Maybe. I hope that's the case, because they're gonna need all hands.
They really do. Knicks up on the Bulls right now. They go at Cleveland, at Boston. They're home for Philly, and then they go at Memphis, and then at Miami. Those are your next games for the Knicks. So this is going to be that stretch, like you said, to see, okay, how good are we? Philly doesn't count because Philly is a complete shit show. We'll talk about them in a second. But this is a huge stretch for the Knicks right now. When we talk about Philly, though, let's talk about Philly right now. What do you do with Philadelphia? Because Embiid's going to go out for the season. I don't think it's a matter if, it's a matter of when they say, we're shutting down, you need knee surgery, let's get this done now. Mm-hmm. Paul George has been a complete and utter disappointment with that big contract he got. You have Maxey. It is Tyrese Maxey's team right now. What do you do if you're Sixers going forward? Because you can't depend on Joel Embiid anymore, but you're stuck with them because of that contract.
I think they're pretty much stuck with him. I think shout out to the Clippers. They clearly knew something without giving Paul George that extra year, and it's showing way too early for the Philly. So I think they're stuck with that contract as well. I think they got to ride out the storm. Actually, they got to play well, because they don't even own their first round pick this year. They go someone else. So talk about NFL dead cap. The Sixers have tons of that going on, but I think they're pretty much stuck in the mud. Like you said, shut down Embiid, call it a lost season, and just try to come back next year and see what you can do.
So here's the cap situation for Philly. Right now, their payroll is $173 million on the books. Next year, they're looking at 170. The year after, 156.
Okay.
And then it goes back up to 164 in the 27-28 season. Joel Embiid, 51.4 this year, 55.2 next year, 59.5 in 26-27, 64-3 in 27-28, and 69 in 28-29 season.
So I got a question for you. So now if Embiid, if they shut him down for the rest of the season, let him get healthy, do you try to trade him and get out of that contract?
Bruce agrees. Two questions. How do you get out of the contract, and what team is dumb enough to take this deal on?
The team that used to play in your state.
No. The Nets have to be smarter than that now. I would assume.
Sure. I feel like they're thirsty for a star.
Because I feel like the conditions for Philly would be you have to take on this whole contract. And other teams like you have to eat some of this money. Like we can't take all this on.
Yeah, as long as if they shut Embiid down now and get him healthy, I think the Nets will have no problem eating that contract.
The Nets payroll. 170 this year. But that's Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, Bojan.
Which I'm
he's off the
surprised
books.
that Nets did not move off of Cam Johnson.
I mean that's the only trade piece you had on this whole team, and you didn't move. And you're keeping him on by accident. They're going to win 6 more games because Cam Johnson's going to score 30 points because that's what he does.
I'm not sure the Nets might overpass Philly for that playing spot.
They got rid of Ben Simmons. I'm like, okay, cool. Step one. But that was after he got bought out. But the whole day, trade deadline day, I'm like, okay, Cam Johnson's out. And Cam Johnson's still there. I don't understand why you wouldn't trade that piece and get off the books because 22.5 this year, 25 next year, 22.5 the year after. So unless the idea is to keep him there and then place him with someone else to have your 1-2,
could be.
That's all I can think about, but it makes no sense. Their payroll is nothing next year. $53 million next year, 45.6 the year after, and then 20.9 the year after that, and then 28-29. Their payroll is zero. They have no one signed through 27-28 season.
This is what I'm saying. I think they're going to take on a big contract. I don't know who that player is. They're going to take on a big contract. I thought it would have been Jimmy, but it's not going to be Jimmy.
So if you're Brooklyn, to get someone like a Joel Embiid, who would you have to give? Who, what, where, when, why? What do you have to do to get Joel Embiid into Brooklyn?
I think you give up some of those Knicks picks you got, and maybe, I don't know, and figure out which Claxton. That's what I'm assuming will be gone.
So I'm looking up their future draft picks right now. They have actually in real. I'm looking at the Nets draft picks. There's not a lot with protections on them, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 3 first-round picks this year. They have the Knicks. Milwaukee's is protected 1-4, so they'll get Milwaukee's pick. And then they have OKC's, Houston, or Phoenix swap rights, which gets very hella complicated. I'm not going to try to read that.
Mm-hmm.
27, they have 3 first-round draft picks. The Knicks for first round, no protections. They have their own, but Houston can swap. Phillies is protected 1-8, which could be a Philly lottery pick that in 27.
Mm-hmm.
And a buttload of second-round picks, which seems to be golden tickets in the NBA these days, second-round draft picks. So they have a ton of draft capital, and they also have 2 first-round draft picks in 2031.
Yep.
So the draft capital is there, and I think Philly might say, hey, we need those picks. Give us whatever picks you want to give us, and give us Cam Johnson. I think that might have to be the kicker to the trade. You have to give up Cam Johnson to make that trade.
Sounds like Cam Johnson next to I think that might be a done deal.
Because I feel like if you trade Embiid, you would have to move Paul George too, which is a whole nother conversation.
That's gonna be the tough one to move. That'll be the tough one to move.
Because listen, if the Clippers going into a new arena where they need name recognition, name value, and they didn't want you for an extra bullshit year, that tells you all you need to know about Paul George and his standing in the pecking order in the NBA right now.
I agree.
So we'll see what happens.
The Clippers actually did their homework and they knew something.
Who knew? Clippers did their homework. WNBA news: Marina Mabry, our girl, requested a trade. Connecticut Sun said, you ain't going nowhere.
You're the last one standing.
You're it here. You got to stay. But here's an interesting statement from her agent. And I want you to tell me what you think about that. What the agent says. In this current age of women's empowerment and support of the players, the Connecticut Sun threatening to force Marina Mabry to play for them after her trade request is mind-boggling. Why would anyone try to force someone to play on their team when they don't want to be there? It's counterproductive in a ton of ways, and everyone we have spoken to is perplexed about how they are handling Marina after trading away Hall of Fame caliber players. The coach parted ways, no free agents returned, and they are doing all they can to try and force Marina to stay when she clearly doesn't want to be there. Jennifer Rosati, who's the president of the Sun, said it wasn't in our best interest to move her because of the value that we gave up to get her, but also that we placed on her. And the Sun, they go into the trade. The Sun sent the 2025 first-round pick and a 26th pick swap, as well as 2 other guards to Chicago for Mabry last year when she caused a fuss and forced her out. How does that statement sit with you? Because I feel like bringing up the women empowerment and how just because you're empowered, you got to get rid of it. I feel like that was digging and using a really good thing that's happening in women's sports in your client's favor. And it kind of seemed like a scumbag douchey move to put that out.
It was very scumbag, very douchey. So we're glad to see that in women's sports as well, because that happens all over every sector of the workforce. So it was kind of douchey to do that, but had a point.
Yeah, listen, if Connecticut didn't give up what they gave up to get her, Rosati's right. We will trade you. We gave up 2 picks and 2 pretty good role players that helped our team to get you. We're not just going to trade you
just because you
for nothing.
Yeah, it
ain't happening. No, so sit down. And I think that's what's happening. But Bruce makes a good point.
I was gonna say someone might still call and inquire her services.
And if the deal makes sense, and if the deal benefits Connecticut, yes, take that deal. But you're not giving her up for pennies on the dollar either. Just because you want out doesn't mean you can get out. We see it in men's sports. You can request a trade all day. I think let's use Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy requested a trade. Miami said no. The situation got so untenable where you had to move him out. But Pat Riley wasn't budging at first. He was completely fine with it. And he was like, whatever. I think the situation got worse, and Jimmy kind of forced it. Marina's going to force it. And she always wants out, and Bruce said it in the chat. She's toxic. It seems like she's a toxic player, and at some point, it's going to start reflecting on your teammates where, like, we don't feel like you're part of this.
Yeah.
You're looking out for you, when in reality, in the team sport, we should be looking out for us, and we're a unit. And I think that's going to be her downfall in this league, because players and teammates aren't going to want to fuck with her like that, because they're like, you looking out for you. Like, Connecticut traded everybody. This is your squad now. Like, Jennifer Rosati's like, no one's here. This is all you. And now you're like, I want out. So you can't have it both ways. You can't want to be a star and be a name, but then when you get the keys to the kingdom, you get that throne, and go, nah, too hard. I'm going to go someplace else. That's what it seems like.
It definitely seems like that. But we'll see what happens. We gotta keep an eye on the situation down the line.
Our final story, Caitlin Clark. Obviously, we talk about Caitlin Clark like during the season and for the last couple of years. Her agent made a good point that question whether she'll ever be paid what she's really worth in the WNBA and what the value she brings to the WNBA. And obviously, we just talked about an agent in the last story. Agent's going to hype their client up. But, Erin Kane's her agent. She was on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
She makes a valid point. How much do you think Caitlin Clark is worth? If money's no object, WNBA is solvent and making bank. How much should she be making right now?
How much does LeBron makes right now?
Oh, Jesus. Was it like 55, 60, something like that?
Yeah.
It's
I would say
some crazy number.
I would say 25 to 30 mil.
I can see that. Because I think her argument is that she's bringing eyes in the league. It's her. She's the reason the league had high attendance, high ratings, stuff like that. So really, she should be getting paid. She didn't say this, but this is what you kind of read between the lines. She should be getting paid more than everybody else. And she's not, because she's a second-year player. She's not one of those cornerstone players like a Stewie or a Rika Gumuke. She's not there yet. But she should be making more than those players, than everybody. I don't think we're there yet with this league to be making that statement.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to wait a little bit longer. Because right now, they're going by pecking order. They're going by seniority. They're going by how long you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going with, okay, you bring a lot of eyes to the game. We're going to pay you more than the 10-year vet that's been here, who's a superstar already before you got here. But because you just got here, you bring in your people here.
But that 10-year vet ain't getting the eyes. I'm telling you, the 10-year vet is not. It's not having the Barclays Center open the top levels and completely selling out the arena.
I get it. Bruce makes a good point. MJ was never paid his value. I blame Jerry Krause for that, but that's just me. I blame MJ. MJ's to blame too, because MJ never really went for the jugular and said, "I want X. I want X." I think he was being considerate of Jordan, hey,
Jordan pretty much coasted with his earnings. And then, we saw what the sneakers became. But yeah, he didn't force the issue. But had he been on another organization where he probably had more leverage and opportunity, because Cross was he was cheap. He was cheap. But let him have been on the Lakers. Jerry would have opened up whatever he wanted.
Sammy, what's going on? She is the WNBA. I ain't saying all that.
I'll say she's she's an artery. She's an artery.
She's an artery. she's a major part of the NBA and WNBA, but not the WNBA. After what? Wait. After what I saw Breanna Stewart getting cooked, she's overpaid. Breanna Stewart did not look good in that one-on-one. I will say that right now. Hey, I felt bad for her.
She just won a championship, all right? She's on that high.
Final question: who would be higher than Caitlin Clark? Can we really answer that question now?
I think this crop of rookies coming in this season will have a better impact than the rookies last season.
Because at this point we could say, okay, let's go backwards. Sue Bird should get paid more than Caitlin Clark. Let's go forward. Juju Watkins is going to come in here and light it up. Paige Beckers is going to come in here and light it up. And she's bringing all of Connecticut with her. Mm-hmm. So Caitlin brought Iowa. Paige Beckers is bringing Connecticut with her.
Yep.
So I think there's an argument for a lot of different players. And I'm not just talking about attendance. I'm not talking about
She's got to perform. She's got to perform. She can't have.
That's the thing. At this point, if her game goes down, her team, which they stacked around her this year, if they don't do better and she doesn't go above what she did last year, I think the conversation ends. I think if she keeps getting better, she elevates her teammates. It seemed like her teammates like her, because I know we had questions about that early last year. It seemed like she was not a great teammate. If everything keeps going upward, yes, because she's 1 year in. I need more than 1 year of high ratings, high attendance to go. Give her whatever she wants.
Yep.
Which also denigrates the checkbook for WNBA and also the players who've been around for 5, 6, 7 years.
Yep. The next television deal will be say a lot of the future of the league. So I think the players between last year and then coming in this year and foreseeable future after that, real talent's coming in the league.
Listen, when Lauren Betts come in and start blocking her shots at UCLA, let's see what happens. I'm just very curious about what happens. Jay, as always, good show, bro.
Likewise.
So we'll be back on next Thursday. I actually got my press credential for March Madness. I'm excited. Prudential Center, Newark.
Nice.
I'll be there for if the phone goes off during the show. Who's calling me right now? I'll be there for the Sweet 16 Elite 8. They're in Newark this year, so I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
So I'm hyped. So now we're watching college basketball. We didn't get to college basketball tonight. We didn't talk any college basketball.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. Wow, there's a lot going on. We missed a lot last couple of weeks. So we'll be back next Thursday night. Bruce will be back on Wednesday for his show, Armchairing. That's every single Wednesday. I know Bruce was off yesterday. Work, real life. We got jobs and shit. We get things come up. So Bruce is on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We're here every Thursday night, 8 p.m. here on the One Podcast Network. For Jason, I'm Kahlil. Thanks so much for watching live, the replay. We appreciate you. Thank you. We'll see you next Thursday night. Peace.
Peace.
This has been The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Subscribe now for the best tri-state area basketball talk.